From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive, exploring the moments that shape today.
Welcome to Deep Dive. I'm Claire Donovan, and today is March 9th, 2026. We're stepping back to a day that saw the end of one era of warfare and the beginning of a cultural icon that redefined childhood for millions.
Exactly. I'm Frederick Moore, and today we are exploring a timeline that stretches from the heavy iron plates of the American Civil War to the grandmaster chessboards of the Cold War and the bright lights of the American International Toy Fair.
Our narrative begins in 1862, off the coast of Virginia at Hampton Roads. The American Civil War was at a boiling point, and the world's navies were about to be rendered obsolete in a matter of hours.
Right, Claire. This was the second day of the Battle of Hampton Roads, the moment the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia met face-to-face. Before this day, naval battles were fought with wooden ships and sails, but these two were something entirely different.
Frederick, the descriptions from that morning are incredible. You had the Virginia, which was essentially a floating iron fortress built on the hull of the old Merrimack, and then you had the Monitor, which looked so strange, people called it a tin can on a shingle.
It was the first time two ironclad warships ever clashed. They spent hours pounding each other with heavy cannon fire, often at point-blank range. But the shells just bounced off their armor. It was a stalemate that proved the age of wooden warships was over.
Every major naval power watching from across the Atlantic took note. Steam and iron were no longer the future, they were the present. It's a remarkable shift in military history, but March 9th also marks the arrival of individuals who mastered far more delicate crafts.
That's true. If we look at our birthdays for today, we start in 1910 with the American composer Samuel Barber. He is the mind behind the Adagio for Strings, a piece so profoundly moving it has become synonymous with national mourning.
It's a haunting piece of music. Barber was a true prodigy, eventually winning 2 Pulitzer Prizes. It's interesting that his music was chosen for the radio broadcasts following the deaths of both Franklin D. Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy. It captures a specific kind of collective grief.
Just 1 year later, in 1911, another musical innovator was born, Clara Rockmore. She was a violin virtuoso whose career was cut short by a hand ailment. But she didn't stop making music. She turned to the theremin.
The theremin is such a singular instrument. You play it by moving your hands through the air, never actually touching it. Clara worked directly with Leon Theremin to refine it, proving that it could be played with the same precision and soul as a classical violin.
No way is that an easy feat. And speaking of precision, we have to mention Bobby Fischer, born on this day in 1943. He's often called the greatest chess player to ever live.
Fischer was the 11th world chess champion. His 1972 match against the Soviet Union's Boris Spassky wasn't just a game, it was a global event at the height of the Cold War. He had this absolute, terrifying intensity for the game.
That intensity seems to be the theme from March 9th. Whether it's ironclads or grandmasters, these are stories of people and nations pushing boundaries. And that brings us to our fact of the day, the debut of a cultural titan made of plastic.
The Barbie doll. It was March 9, 1959, when Ruth Handler, the co-founder of Mattel, introduced Barbie at the American International Toy Fair in New York City.
The origin story is fascinating, Frederick. Ruth watched her daughter, Barbara, playing with paper dolls of adult women. She realized that while the market was full of baby dolls for girls to play mother, there was nothing that allowed them to imagine their own futures as adults.
Yep, she modeled the first Barbie after a German doll named Lily. Mattel bought the rights, refined the design, and named it after Ruth's daughter. That first doll wore a black and white striped swimsuit and had those famous arched eyebrows.
Mattel was also incredibly savvy with their marketing. They were one of the first companies to use television to speak directly to children, specifically through the Mickey Mouse Club. By 1961, they even had to introduce a boyfriend, Ken, named after Ruth's son.
Barbie has been a lightning rod for debate ever since, especially regarding body image. But it's hard to ignore that she was an astronaut in 1965 and a surgeon in 1973. She was pursuing careers in the toy world long before those paths were widely open to women in the real world.
Yeah, the influence is undeniable. By the early 90s, Barbie sales were over $1 billion a year. It's a staggering legacy for an idea that started with paper dolls.
From the iron plates of 1862 to the chessboards of the 70s and the shelves of toy stores, March 9th shows us how innovation, whether in steel or plastic, changes the way we see the world.
It's about the people who look at the tools they have and decide to build something completely new. To dive deeper into these stories, visit deepdive.neuralnewscast.com.
I'm Claire Donovan.
And I'm Frederick Moore. Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.
This has been Deep Dive on Neural Newscast, exploring the moments that shape today.